be on the left.
Good morning. As expected, last night was not a place of sleep. I don't think I got more than 2 hours of actual unconsciousness between the failing self-inflating mattress and the anxiety of being, just parked at the front of someone's place, which, normally is a fairly low level for whatever reason. Maybe because I talked about it extensively before going to bed for yesterday's vlog. It was sort of forefront of my mind the whole time. I would occasionally hear people sort of milling about, coming and going from their places and whatnot. I don't know, I just felt really anxious, really anxious the whole night. And every time I would start to drift off, you'd get those little weird, not quite dreams, not REM sleep dreams, but your mind would wander and stuff, and it'd flip into some sort of anxiety panic moment. Just really, really unfun. As you can hear, I'm possibly a bit worse this morning. Very coughy this morning, very sniffly, and between the no sleep and that, feeling a bit knocked around this morning. Pulled around to McDonald's, gonna get my Macca's breakfast, and then figure out what today is going to be about. Well, we can have this, or we can have this. The iPhone doesn't quite have the dynamic range required to capture the sunrise and my face at the same time, unfortunately. It is a lovely sunrise. Unfortunately, I missed the best part. As I was driving in to McDonald's, there was just a watercolor splash of oranges across the horizon. So I think maybe tomorrow morning, or some morning, I will try and make plans to be in this location as the sun rises, instead of driving past it while it rises. I'm going to hang out here for a while. Maybe take some snaps. That's the plan. Actually, the smart plan is to go back to the van, get a warm jumper or a hoodie or something, so I don't make my chest infection way worse by walking around in this frigid air. There we go. Much better. The only thing I don't like about this top, there's no front pockets like on my hoodies do. I'm in such a habit of just throwing my hands in the front pockets of my hoodies. Every time I put this damn thing on, just slide right off my belly. Behind me here is a sculpture. It's apparently quite a new sculpture, established this year sometime. Doesn't say exactly when, but this year. And it's supposedly to recognize, remember, honor, whatever word you want to choose, victims of suicide from the local community here in Ballarat. It's got lifeline information on there and the usual diatribe about the phrase, "It's okay not to be okay," reducing stigma around suicide. I've spoken recently about how that particular phrase is meaningless in the actual fight against what drives people to end their own lives. I speak as someone with bipolar depression, and although I don't really speak directly about it, it'll be tough to find people living with my mental health conditions that haven't considered, thought about, attempted, etc. quitting this big old game of life on Earth. So I'm a bit conflicted about that. Their heart's in the right place. You need to do something to try and help people who are stuck in those thoughts. Telling other people it's okay not to be okay, I don't think is the way to go. Pretty blue sculpture, and I do think it is a pretty sculpture. It's a lovely idea. All the little leaves on there are reserved for names. Right now there's a few dozen on the lower levels there of names of people who took their own lives, with lots of leaves to go. That doesn't really send a very hopeful message to me. Look at all these blank leaves just waiting for your name. You can be remembered in sculpture by the shores of this beautiful lake in the middle of the city. I'm not sure that's the message you should be sending. It is very pretty though, and if I can get the right morning with a little less cloud cover and a little earlier on, get the sunrise pulling directly through this thing and scattering shadows all on the ground here, I bet that would make a very pretty picture. The one I got is 30% there, but yeah, so that's what I discovered on my little mini photo walk. The black swans. There's a large population of them around the lake here in Bendigo. Cygnus atratus, if I remember correctly. Again, really should double check these things before I just commit them to video. Pretty sure that's right. Anyway, black swan, red bill, and native. Australian native swans. They are very pretty. My personal favourite swan. And of course these ones are protected around here and very much cared after. There have been a few incidents because we are, like the lake, there's a road that goes all the way around the lake, and the lake itself is very close to the city centre, so it's a fairly busy area. And unfortunately they do get hit by cars from time to time. A lot of the road that is directly around the lake has the same speed limit all day, all night as school zones do when school is in or out. So that's one effort to try and stop them getting hit by cars and whatnot. But the other one is just to be careful. Sorry, what's this? Are you some sort of pigeon? You look like some sort of pigeon, but look at your little fancy little head. Yeah, you got a little punk hairdo going on there. I don't know what you are. Well, I tried to get closer for a better shot, and when he took off, he made that very pigeon-like squeakity, squeakity, squeakity noise as he flew away. So I'm pretty sure that is some sort of species of pigeon. Tell you what though, if and when I do get a place, and it is in Ballarat here, this area around the lake, especially early morning, and probably the other side for sunset, will definitely be somewhere I come if I decide to start doing more camera stuff again on the channel, which I am certainly not against. It has been about 3.5 hours since I shot those last clips. I'm still parked in exactly the same place that I was. I've just been sitting here doom scrolling basically because I'm having an extremely low energy day because of the burnout of all the anxiety and lack of sleep last night has placed in my bones. There's nothing that needs doing. There's nothing I want to do. Today is just waiting and hoping for an email from a real estate agent, I suppose. Every now and again I'm rechecking the websites to see if anything new has been listed. Nothing so far. Anyway, let's talk about the autism experience some more. Let me see if I can teach some of you some stuff and things about what life is like for many people with autism, for me specifically. And it's about food this time. Now, this is one of those things that varies wildly between different autistic people. There are a lot of commonalities of sensory experiences and things like that that autistic people share. But food is one of those ones that it's really, really individual. But something that is relatively common is we kind of eat like kids. And I don't mean, we always eat sugary cereals for breakfast and, crap like that. We want to have ice cream for dinner. Although, who doesn't? I mean, we have extremely specific tastes and tend to get a little grumpy, tantrumy when those tastes aren't provided for necessarily. You know how all kids go through that picky eating stage where they only want to eat tater tots or chicken nuggets or whatever. Autistic people sort of maintain that throughout our lives. And it is tied to the sensory thing. So we like predictability in sensory experiences. That feels most comfortable. So we tend towards, and when I say we, again, I'm talking about many, perhaps even most, but not all. So, let's say, tend towards processed foods. And it's also common for autistic people to avoid fresh fruits and vegetables and prefer things like highly processed foods and carbohydrates and things like that, because those are more predictable and a little bit better at triggering sort of the reward system in our brain, all the sugars and stuff and the dopamine and all that kind of crap. Whereas fresh fruits and vegetables, although most of us, of course, know intellectually those are very, very good for us, and we might even, enjoy very much the taste of fruit and vegetables. The problem is they're really inconsistent, because depending on how you cook a carrot, it could be a very different sensory experience. So unless we're cooking for ourselves, or someone who regularly cooks for us knows exactly the way things should be cooked for us, rolling those dice, having dinner at someone's place, or ordering at a restaurant, or doing takeout, it's very much a roll of the dice when it comes to that kind of stuff. But even beyond preparation and presentation styles and things like that, fresh fruits and vegetables just vary naturally. Like, you get a punnet of strawberries. Not all strawberries are going to be the same sweetness, the same texture, the same sort of toothiness when you bite in them. Some are going to be mushy, some are going to be very crisp and a little bit underripe. And that variability, that unpredictability, can be a problem. It's not always a problem for me, but it frequently is, which is why I like the reliability of processed foods, of heavily structured takeout places like McDonald's, because it's very, very predictable. You get a quarter pounder from McDonald's, it's going to taste extremely similar all across the board, no matter where you get it from. It can change a little bit internationally because of the beef supply and things like that, as I found out when I went to America. The McDonald's in Australia is better, by the way, in case you're wondering. Our beef is just way better than the beef the Americans use in their McDonald's. The exception to that rule, I found, is the McRib. I had a McRib in the Austin airport, I think it was, and it was superior to any other McRib I ever had in Australia ever. So then you get things like pizza, which, again, even from the big chains, Pizza, Domino, that kind of thing, there is a lot of variability there just because of the way they are prepared. The dough tends to be pretty consistent, because I think that's all through a massive supply chain these days. But the assembly of the pizza, the amount of sauce, the amount of toppings, the ratios of the various toppings, even if you just get, a pepperoni pizza every time, which is, sauce, cheese, pepperoni. How can you screw that up? It's always a little bit different. Maybe it's a little bit more cooked. Maybe it's a little bit undercooked. Maybe it arrives hotter or cooler, depending on, what the delivery route was like to get to you and how long it had to wait on the counter before the delivery driver came. Even that stuff can really be problematic when ordering pizza. Now, the reason this is on my mind is because it came up in conversation with a friend last night over text. It was just sort of checking in on me, seeing how things were rolling. And they said, well, if you're ever in my neck of the woods, and they're quite some distance from here at this point, we'd love to host you, for a few days if you need to rest. You can have some home-cooked meals. And I was like, man, I really miss cooking for myself. because I've always enjoyed cooking. I learned to cook for myself very early on, at pre-diagnosis, as a matter of fact, and it was many, many, many years after diagnosis when I finally realized why, or one of the reasons I enjoy cooking for myself. Like, I enjoy the process, the smells, the preparation, the chemistry of it, the creativity, but a lot of it is I get to cook things exactly the way I like them every single time. And one of the other things with autistics and food is we tend to eat the same thing repeatedly for extended periods of time. And then suddenly that particular food will no longer be satisfying. It will, in fact, be absolutely unappetizing. And we won't touch it. We'll move on to a different thing. We'll eat that for, 8 weeks straight again. Or at least I do. I go through cycles of food where I just, eat the same thing over and over and over and over again. And eventually my brain goes, yeah, no more of that. Let's try something else. And so I switch out to one of my other comfort foods. And comfort food has a very different pocket in the brain when it comes to autistic people. A lot of people have comfort foods, when you those sad and rainy days, bucket of chocolate chip ice cream or something. No, when I'm talking sensory comfort foods, reliable foods that I know aren't going to exacerbate whatever other sensory issues and loads that I'm dealing with at the time. Something I know is going to taste it a precise way, and I'm going to enjoy a precise way, and I'm going to eat in a precise way. Ask an autistic Australian sometime how they eat their meat pies. And right now, after 50 days on the road, I'm at a point now where the things I've been eating for the last 50 days are starting to repulse me. I spoke a couple of videos ago about not wanting to eat anything that I had with me for breakfast that day, and didn't eat breakfast for another hour until I drove down here and went to a fast food place. So yeah, all those little OT bars, those breakfast cookies, those OT snack things, all these things that I do like, and I've eaten for many years, not just for this trip, but yeah. Suddenly I can't stand the thought of them anymore. Same thing with all the packet mix, cup of soup or noodles and stuff like that I've had as well. And even the reliable stuff like McDonald's, Hungry Jack's, KFC, which I've been eating a lot more of in recent weeks because I've been hovering around civilization, between finding Ballarat and starting to look for places here, then doing packs, and then coming back here again. Those last 2 or 3 weeks in particular, or 4 weeks actually, because there was a little bit of lead up to packs. But point is, I've had a lot of those fast food meals, and again, I know I enjoy them. I've eaten them since I was a kid. I know they're no good for me. You don't be in the comments going, "Oh, you really shouldn't be eating those. They're not healthy for you." Yeah, no shit. Don't be that guy. Don't be the person who walks up to a smoker. "Oh, they just give you cancer." They know. There are other things going on. Relax. But yeah, I'm starting to reach a point where every time I go into McDonald's or KFC, I'm taking longer and longer at that menu screen, because they've got those self-serve ordering stations and all them things now, which is awesome because it means I don't have to talk to a person. But yeah, those foods are starting to become unappetizing, and I'm kind of forcing myself to eat them at the moment because there are no other options, and that's starting to really start to upset me. Normally when this happens, I would switch to a different food because I would have a home in which I could prepare my own foods, either cooking something from scratch, like a massive pot of bolognese or chili, something that'll last me for days, that I can just, go through, and it's consistent every single time because I made it exactly the way I wanted it. Or I would have specific frozen meals, or, otherwise, ready to go quick preparation meals that you can buy from the supermarket in a little box, and, add water or microwave it or do whatever you need to do to it. And I would have my consistent meals again. I have no other options now. Like, I've got the little camp stove, and I've got my little jet boiler, so I can cook something, but what I can cook, where I can cook, how I can cook it are extremely limited at the moment. Like, if I whip that out in the car park here by the lakes, I would definitely get some strange looks, and I really do not want to attract attention. Not just because I'm stealth camping around this area, but because in general. Alright, we are switching to the GoPro because my iPhone just overheated sitting in the heat under the glass of my windshield there and recording for an extended clip. It was already pretty hot because I've been doom scrolling TikTok, so my phone just did an emergency temperature shutdown thing on me, but I'm on a roll with what I was talking about, so let's switch to the GoPro. So yeah, I was talking about being unable to switch out to any number of other reliable, safe comfort meals, and that's adding to the stress that I'm feeling at the moment. And I wasn't really aware of that until that conversation last night. I went, oh, right. That's an additional source of anxiety and stress that's piling up in the background right now that I haven't been processing properly. And unfortunately, the ways in which I would process that, I literally can't do right now. Like, it is impossible. So that's a problem. And I don't know what to do about that. I guess just fucking deal with it. Or not deal with it, as it were, and let the anxiety and stress pile up because there are no other options. I'm no good at being hungry. I've got to eat something. I mean, I guess I can try tonight, maybe hit up a supermarket and get some of those ham and cheese rolls, or those pizza rolls that I like. Because, you know, you don't need, there's no preparation involved in those, and they're fairly reliable. But yeah, everything else I would get from a supermarket to prepare myself, I need an oven or a microwave or, a kitchen. So that's one of those all the time background autistic things that regular people never ever think about, but it's always ticking along. Anyway, back to staring at the swans on the lake, I think. Or more specifically, checking to see if my phone has cooled down enough for me to doom scroll more TikTok. Just had to go take a pee. Did learn something interesting on the way back. I saw a little tourist sign thing about the Wendouree Lake, which I've been sitting by. Apparently the word Wendouree means basically be off with you, which is apparently a sentiment expressed by the original landowners of this area before the white man came along and went, oh, there's gold here, all this is mine now, this is ours. Yeah, I kind of fucking love that. This whole place, this lake, there's even a suburb of Ballarat called Wendouree. It's just, you know, the locals' words, or the original locals' words, for fuck off. I've never been more sure this is where I'm supposed to live. Look at this bitch right here. Just strolling. Like he owns the bloody place. Sure. The cockiness of it. That's right. You better keep walking.